The chair recognizes the honorable member for Cat Island, Rumkey, and San Salvador.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. You know, jostling for position. You know, there's a book that I commend to all who are interested in themselves, particular. It's called Ego, the Enemy. Google it, you'll see it's a well-written book. I would recommend that to all of you. And insofar as who is prime minister and who is this or that, you know, I hold a position. I'm privileged to have that position at this time. My record will speak for itself, and we can do it over. The leader and I, Marcos and I heard a sermon yesterday that spoke about doing over. Do it again. Of course, he wanted to make the distinction that didn't mean repeat, just meant doing over. And he's the one who raised it. But, you know, we over here, we know who the leader is. And for me as the leader, you know, I'm comfortable in my skin. I don't look over my shoulder, because at the end of the day, you know, it is the will of someone who's higher than all of us that will determine who I am. So I am happy to welcome the man from Abaco, Kai Mills, in the house. Good to see you, Kai. One of the prolific voices of Abaco, who always speaks truth to power. Even me. Well, yeah, especially me, because the power lies here now, right? So this is who we speak to. Right, Kai? So, Madam Speaker, let us begin as we should always begin. And I alluded to the fact that the leader and I spent some time in the house of the Lord yesterday, quite a time. So let us begin by giving thanks to Almighty, the Almighty God. It is He who has carried this nation through the most difficult times and who continues to guide us towards a future filled with promise. It is always His will that will be done. And I would say it would be a profound error indeed, a complete misunderstanding of history, to believe that the progress we have made is a matter of chance or coincidence. No, Madam Speaker, the progress we have made is as a result of hard work, and it has been hard won. It has been built through the efforts of the Bahamian people, and I emphasize that, Madam Speaker. It has been built through the efforts of the Bahamian people, through their grit, their determination, their refusal to give in to despair, even in the face of extraordinary challenges. Let there be no mistake. Had it not been for them, the Bahamian people, and had it not been for the wisdom and protection of God, the success we now speak of would not have been achieved. For all the political noise, for all the grandstanding that sometimes passes for debate in this House, the reality is that this government has worked day in, day out.
Yes, that's it.
Not for applause, not for headlines, but for the people, the Bahamian people,
Real talk, real talk.
who entrust us with the responsibility of leadership. And we will continue to do so. Because government, Madam Speaker, is not about sitting back and admiring the achievements of the past. It is about facing the challenges of the future. It is about recognizing that for all we have done, there's still more to do. That we recognize. There are those who will tell you that we have achieved nothing, that our progress is illusion. But the facts will speak for themselves. Madam Speaker, when you see an economy that is growing, when you see jobs returning, when you see record investment flowing into this country, you do not need to be told that what success looks like. It is happening. It is real. And it is only possible because of the faith, the perseverance, and the sheer resilience of the Bahamian people. And so, as we wrap up this debate, let us do so with a clear sense of purpose, not just to account for what has been done, but to make clear what must be done next. Because the future of this nation is not something that will be decided by commentators or critics. It will be decided by the choices we make here in this Parliament. What is clear, undeniably clear, is that good news for the Bahamas is bad news for the opposition. They have made a political calculation, and it is a simple one. If this country prospers, they suffer. If Bahamian families succeed, they struggle. Their entire strategy is built not on offering solutions, not on proposing better policies, but on hoping desperately that things go wrong. Madam Speaker, when employment falls, when businesses grow, when the economy strengthens, they do not welcome it. They do not embrace it. They do not even acknowledge it. They do not, as any responsible opposition might, challenge us to go further. Instead, they lament and complain. They see every investment as a threat to their political fortunes, every economic milestone as a setback to their ambition. What a sad and cynical approach. A sad, sad story, that is. Because, Madam Speaker, leadership is not about waiting in the wings, hoping for the worst. It is not about telling the Bahamian people day after day that their success is an illusion. It is about having the honesty to admit when progress has been made, the courage to build on it, and the integrity to put country before party. But they cannot do that because they have tied themselves to a narrative of failure. And when the facts do not fit their story, they ignore them. When the numbers grow, when the numbers show growth, they dismiss them. When international agencies, investors, and economists point to the Bahamas as a country on the rise, they cover their ears. Madam Speaker, they told us the economy will not recover. It has. They told us we could not attract investments. We have. They told us unemployment would not fall. It has. They told us we would not get spending under control. We did. They told us that government revenues would collapse. They have strengthened. And yet, despite all this,
If the member for Kidd Island, if the
if the day that he's referring to as the Free National Movement, then he is telling an untruth in the Parliament. He's misleading the Parliament. Because certainly he didn't hear that from any member on this side. And so I want to make that clear to the public that is not the case. I have written letters to the Prime Minister. We have made recommendations to this government. We have sent in amendments to numerous pieces of legislation which we voted for. So clearly, Madam Speaker, we've supported things that we thought in some cases made sense but did not go far enough or could have in fact been improved. So the narrative that the speechwriters have provided to the member for Cat Island will fall flat on the ears of Bahamians, because certainly he is misrepresenting our representation of the Bahamian people in the House of Assembly, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Madam
Thank you, Honourable Member.
Madam Speaker, I'm thankful for the intervention. And since you accusing speechwriters of what I'm saying, let me go off strip a minute. Do you accept that the economy has recovered?
Yes. Okay.
Do you? Yeah, the economy has. Do you accept? Do you accept? Do you accept?
It's a yes or no question. It's a yes.
Do you accept? Yeah, go ahead.
Madam Speaker, that any economy that has been closed during COVID, once those economies reopen, there is a naturally expected recovery in the industry. In fact, Madam Speaker, you want to listen? Do you want to listen, or you all want to listen? So, Madam Speaker, when the economy reopened, it reopened, Madam Speaker, with a 14, then 10% economic growth rate. And then it returned to pre-pandemic numbers. So to answer the Prime Minister, yes, once an economy reopens, you expect an increase. But we have now gone back, Madam Speaker, according to the Prime Minister's number, to 1.7 expected growth rate. So we're going to hover over this year and next year between 1.7, according to his numbers, and possibly 1.1, Madam Speaker. Yes. No problem. If that satisfies you, despite what our people are feeling, carry on.
Thank you, Speaker.
You know, somebody just whispered in my ear. I don't know if there's anyone here where that voice came from, but they say, "Brave, you're fishing." I say, "Yes, I am." I say, "Guess what? But you know something? He don't catch a fish unless he opens his mouth." So the economy has recovered. He accepts. Now, would you accept? Let's move on to the next thing. Would you accept that we have attracted investment? Would you accept that? Right? Would you accept that unemployment has fallen to the lowest level in 20 years? Would you accept that? Right? Would you accept on the record that spending is under control? Would you accept that our revenue has not collapsed? So, do you accept those things? And so, I'm moving on, Madam Speaker. I move on, Madam Speaker. I move on. I move on, right? See, look, man. Listen, I'm not going to yield. See, because you're already on the line. I don't want the hook to go any deeper. Don't allow the hook to get any deeper. Right now, and so, Madam Speaker, right. The question for the Bahamian people. The question for the Bahamian people really is this. Do we believe the reality we can see, the progress we can feel, and the opportunities that are growing every day? Madam Speaker, or do we accept the fiction that the opposition is so desperately wanting us to believe? Questions, they're questions. But I tell you one thing. Try to leave downtown and get to Cable Beach See how long that will take you today. At any hour of the day. Come from here and go into Lizzie or go into St. Barnabas. See how long it takes. Right? 2 decades. Just check it. Right? See, they'll never accept anything.
How good the economy doing?
They'll never accept anything. But see, many people feel that. They're now complaining about the traffic on the road. We have to address that soon too. But the traffic on the road because there are activities. Things are happening. Right? Things are happening. So this government.
Recognize this the honorable member from
Speaker, the Prime Minister is shadow boxing. He's setting up false arguments and then arguing with the false argument he created. The reason you have new roads, the reason you had a massive road project by Hubert Alexander Ingram was because of the precise thing that he said. We had a problem moving in New Providence, and if we want to use the arguments that he used, yes, there were lots of activities. There were activities then as there are now. So it is not a reflection of some economic boom that he's talking about that has resulted in traffic being congested, Madam Speaker. This has occurred before he came to office, before the last Prime Minister came to office, before the last Prime Minister. So again, it's a false argument, and it does not prove the case of any economic bonanza for this Prime Minister.
Thank you, honorable member.
You know, when I give advice sometimes, you might think it's gratuitous, you might think it might be scoring some. I don't score points. The point, see, I said, no, the more you speak, the deeper the hook will get. Your explanation just now, see, you just got up and said you never said, you know, I said, right, when I was saying these things that the economy would not, they told us the economy would not recover. They told us that we could not attract them. When I said that, when I said those things, you said it ain't true. And now I am demonstrating by illustration, all right, a pointer that supports our contention. And you get up and say, it ain't true. That ain't nothing to do with growing in the economy. That ain't got, you're right back to what I was saying, you know. Anyway, Madam Speaker, you got to decide whether we growing or we ain't growing, and just take your position.
Say that. How about the 25th April? 25th April?
Just be consistent with your views. That's all I say. Either you don't agree that the economy is growing, you agree you don't want to embrace what international and other investors are saying about the country. That's your right. But hold on to what you believe instead of waffling, going from this place to the next, right? Madam Speaker,
Did you say waffling?
this government, we don't ask things we don't ask for blind faith. We're not asking anyone to have blind faith. We only ask that the facts be recognized and acknowledged. That numbers, for example, be acknowledged. And that the progress be seen for what it is. Yes. Proof that when a government puts the people first, when it makes smart, strategic choices, the Bahamas succeeds. And succeed we will continue to do. This administration, Madam Speaker, we're not looking for applause. We're not here to pat ourselves on the back, nor are we content to rest on our achievements or our laurels. We are here to reaffirm, I repeat this, Madam Speaker, we are here to reaffirm our confidence, our absolute unshakable confidence in the Bahamian economy and the people who drive it forward. Madam Speaker, remember when they said we wouldn't be able to handle the pandemic? They said that. In fact, I recall the competent authority talking about, I am the doctor. I remember very clearly that we didn't have the capacity, the vision, or the leadership to steer this country through one of the greatest crises of our time. Remember, they said all that. And yet we did. And yet, here we stand, with economic growth stronger than pre-pandemic levels. It is stronger than pre-pandemic levels. Just look at the numbers. With new investment pouring in, with thousands more Bahamians at work than they were when they were last in office. Let us remind the leader of the opposition. Remind him when he was on the other side of this chamber, sitting in government, defending the very policies that strangle opportunity, that push Bahamians into hardship, that fail to deliver on every promise they made. Because, Madam Speaker, what we see today is a government that inherited an economy in crisis and we turned it around. We have seen what failure looks like. We lived through it. It was the reckless policies of the opposition, their lack of foresight, their inability to lead that left this country weaker and more vulnerable when the pandemic hit. And yet, Madam Speaker, they now sit in opposition, pretending they had all the answers. They had all the answers. Answers they never once implemented. Ideas they never once had the courage to act upon. Here are the realities. Here are the realities. The numbers, the facts, the undeniable truth that no amount of political spin can erase. The comparison is clear. Even before Hurricane Dorian, even before the pandemic, the opposition's plans were already failing. I pointed out to them on many occasions before the pandemic hit. Just look at my contributions to the budget debates and other contributions with respect to financial and fiscal issues before the debate. The warning was then. Madam Speaker, let us not allow them to rewrite history. Before a single wave crashed on our shores, before the world had even heard the word COVID, their economic policies had already left the Bahamas struggling. Debt was rising, growth was slowing, jobs were disappearing. And for all their talk of discipline and prudence, they had no vision, no strategy, no plan beyond raising taxes on the backs of Bahamian families. And so, when the storms came, both literal and economic, they were exposed. Madam Speaker, the truth is that the opposition had already set this country on a path to economic hardship long before disaster struck. They did not fail because of Hurricane Dorian. They did not fail because of COVID-19. They failed because their approach to governing was fundamentally flawed. They entered office promising transformation, but left behind stagnation instead. They promised opportunity, but delivered austerity. And yet today, they would stand here pretending that the past did not happen, pretending that the struggles Bahamians faced under their watch were the result of misfortune rather than mismanagement. And they're here now, Madam Speaker. They're here really complaining, when, they're complaining that perhaps we're not cleaning up their mess fast enough. But the Bahamian people remember. They remember the failed policies. They remember the broken promises. They remember an administration that lacked the courage to lead and the competence to govern. What we have done, what this administration has done, is take the mess they left behind and rebuild. We have not just stabilized the economy, we have strengthened it. We have not just brought back jobs, we have created new ones. We have not just restored investors' confidence, we have expanded it to levels never seen before. Madam Speaker, in every meaningful measure, whether it be economic growth, job creation, or fiscal responsibility, this government has done what they could not. Yep. And that, Madam Speaker, is reality. No amount of denial can change it. No amount of political posturing can undo it. The facts stand. The numbers tell the story. And the Bahamian people know the difference between those who talk and those who deliver. the opposition really doesn't like when we remind them of their failures, you know. They squirm, they deflect, they pretend that history started the day they left office. But the truth, Madam Speaker, is that failures are not a matter of opinion, they are a matter of record. And yet somehow they believe that if given another opportunity, things would be different, that they have changed, that the same people with the same ideas and the same reckless approach to governance would suddenly produce different results. But, Madam Speaker, the truth is written in the old adage, a leopard does not change its spots. So, Madam Speaker, let them say what they wish. Let them spin their narratives. Let them hope that Bahamians have short memories. But we will remind the people of this country every single day of the choice before them between a government that delivers and an opposition that destroys, between progress and regression, between rare leadership and reckless incompetence. The past is not something to run from, Madam Speaker. It is something to learn from. And the lesson is clear. The opposition has nothing new to offer. They're simply waiting for another chance to make the same mistake all over again. But this administration is here to ensure that the Bahamas never goes back to those days. We are moving forward, and we will not be stopped. Madam Speaker, thank you.